Passion Pilots, welcome back to my channel. So I'm sorry first and foremost if you can hear my fan in the background. It's been really hot here in my area and I really cannot record without having a fan on, so if this bothers you, I'm so sorry about that. I have no other way to film this. It gets really hot with all of my windows and my door closed, so I'm gonna try and do the best that I can. Try to speak as loud as I can so you can hear me. So anyway, for today's video, I just wanted to go more in depth and dive into my personal story regarding my mental illness journey. So I just want to put a disclaimer out there and say that everything that I talk about in my future videos will solely be based off of my own personal experience, my opinions, my thoughts, my own personal advice, etc. I'm not in any way a doctor or an expert. I've never done any professional study on this field. I'm just talking solely based off of my own experience. Okay, so now that we have that out of the way, let's get into my story. So, as you all know, I am diagnosed with generalized anxiety disorder, and I was diagnosed roughly around 2013. I believe it was very early 2013 actually, and it's been a very challenging, tough, but very rewarding journey at the same time, especially nowadays that I've been able to really understand myself, my symptoms, my triggers, and all of that stuff. So when I first experienced my very first anxiety attack, it was very weird, very hard. I didn't understand it really, and I just had this heightened feeling within me, and it felt really weird, and I was really scared at the same time because if you guys don't know, mental illnesses are not just mental struggles. It's also very tiring physically, because for me or anyone that really has really high anxiety, you deal with a lot of physical symptoms such as shortness of breath, racing heartbeat. You start to breathe fast and breathe shallow, and sometimes if it really gets really bad, your body starts to tingle. Kind of like, for example, if you were to lay down on your arm for a really long time, and then when you get up, you have this tingling sensation that goes through your entire arm. That's how my body feels when I have full-on anxiety attack, and it's not fun. I feel it's kind of out of my control in a way, but at the same time, after really going through anxiety for a while, I've come to realize that your symptoms are not forever. But when I first started having anxiety, it was like that almost all the time. It was just really hard and very challenging to deal with. And it was very hard to overcome and to have a different mindset about having anxiety attacks. But nowadays I'm a lot better about it. I have a different approach. I'm better able to handle it because of the way that I think about my anxiety. When I first started experiencing anxiety, I didn't know what to do, and for the longest time I stayed home every single day for probably a little over a year. And I stayed home because I was just so anxious about everything, really, because generalized anxiety disorder is based off of anything really that sparks some sort of concern or worry. If it's really that bad or concerns you that much, it turns into an anxiety attack. You start to panic, and then you start to feel the physical symptoms. So that's why for a little over a year I was really scared to go out and socialize, to live my life outside of my home. My home was my comfort zone, but even then, sometimes I didn't even want to be home. When my family and I would go out, sometimes I wouldn't want to go home because I felt like, oh my gosh, that's where I have my anxiety attacks. I don't want to be in that space because I've released so much negative tension and energy in this space that it makes me feel anxious to think that I'm going to be going back into that environment. So it was like that, I was going back and forth all the time with staying home, and if I had to go out with my family, I wouldn't want to go back home. So I had that conflict of interest, and it was just really hard to deal with and to figure out what I wanted to do in that moment. It was like that for me for the longest time, and I remember I did not want to socialize with any of my friends or anyone really outside of my immediate family. It was such a challenge, And I remember like my brother would even tell me like, why don't you go out? Why don't you like try doing stuff? Maybe you just need to do something to help you get your mind off of things. But when I thought about it, I was all like, what if I have an anxiety attack when I'm out by myself or when I'm out with my friends? How am I supposed to explain to somebody in case I need to tell even a stranger? Maybe if I'm like out by myself and all of a sudden I have an anxiety attack and I need help, how am I supposed to explain myself to somebody? You know, and I felt really insecure about that. First of all, I felt really insecure about having anxiety in general because I knew that it was all, for the most part, anxiety is based off of worry and fear and overthinking. And I was very insecure about that fact that that's really how I felt inside about anything, about every little thing, whether it was something that I did, something that I thought, something someone else did, etc. It was such a challenge for me. That's why I always wanted to stay home. I never wanted to talk to anyone about it. I felt really insecure, but at the same time scared to talk about it because I felt that talking about it was going to trigger an anxiety attack because it was that hard. And I feel like some of the reasons why it was hard for me to explain it to other people back then was because I didn't understand it that well myself, and I was kind of just going through the motions and trying to understand it based off of each anxiety attack. I know that sounds kind of awful and it sounds kind of sad to hear, but honestly, I feel like that's what really helped me to understand myself. And it's not because I was just like, oh, whatever, like I'm just gonna keep having anxiety attacks. It's not like that. I feel like I really took it to consideration to really analyze myself and to really reflect on why I was having anxiety attacks when I felt that I was mentally strong enough and emotionally able to do so. Don't beat yourself up if you cannot do this right away. Like I said, it took me a long time. I was home every day for an entire year before I was able to really step out and get back out there and do things that I wanted to do. So being able to really reflect on it a few years later has really helped me to channel my inner emotions, my thoughts and my feelings, and understand it so that I can better handle future anxiety attacks. But then in 2015, I remember it was my last year of community college. And this was my time to really step up my game in terms of school because it was time to transfer to university. Now, that was already very stressful for me, but during that time, my grandpa passed away, and then later on that year, a friend of mine passed away. So having two deaths in my family and in my friendship life, it really took a toll on me, and that also added to my anxiety, which is why it took me a while to really get back out there and do things outside of my home. But after I was able to like really accept the fact that, you know, this was the reality, this is what happened, you know, I needed to move forward, and I just prayed all the time, and I did what I needed to do to cope with the passings of my loved ones. And then I knew from then on, like, I know those people wouldn't want to see me sad. They wouldn't want to see me moping around all the time. Not because I didn't care about it, but because, like, you know, there's still so much ahead of me that I can do more. And I can use the feelings I have within me to probably channel it out to the world and, like, make a difference. After I got over that hump, and I was able to accept my reality, I began to slowly but surely get into things that I used to love doing, such as dancing. Now, I've been dancing for a very long time, and ever since my anxiety, I was very scared to step back into a studio, to go take classes, to join a dance team. And I remember I promised to myself, once I transferred to a university, I was going to dance again. And I kept that promise to myself, and I did it. Now, prior to that promise, I also promised myself that I was going to finish my community college years strong. So once I graduated from community college, I then finally transferred to university. First few weeks was really hard transferring and transitioning into a university because there's so much more people, the campus is a lot bigger, and I just felt anxious about how do I socialize. I kind of forgot how to do this, like I wanted to fit in, but at the same time I'm like this really reserved and shy person that I didn't want to be fake. And not gonna lie, I kind of went into the university life trying to re-identify myself and trying to be more outgoing, but my true colors really showed. I ended up still being very shy, very reserved, but when it came to my anxiety throughout my university life, it was very hard transitioning. I did have a few really bad anxiety attacks going into university life just because it was a new environment, a new change of pace, and I didn't know what to expect. But after allowing myself to be patient and to understand that of course, like, I'm going through my anxiety, so don't be too hard on yourself when you don't transition right away or you're not at a pace that you want to be at yet. I made sure to be kind to myself, to be patient, and ever since then, I started to get a lot better. I made new friends and I was able to socialize more. I went out there, I got a few more different jobs throughout my college career, and then I finally graduated, and here I am with a bachelor's degree, out of college. That milestone in my life, it's been such a long time coming that I wanted to really achieve this goal because I was very hard on myself to begin with about the whole college career, but now that I've finally done it, I'm honestly very happy. I'm so thankful and so blessed to have all of the different support groups and support systems that I've had throughout the years. Shout out to my family, my close friends, my best friends, and all the faculty and staff that have ever helped me when I did open up to them. So here I am today, 2017, and it's been 4 years since I was diagnosed with generalized anxiety disorder, and I feel a lot better about myself. And nowadays, when I do feel anxious, I feel like I'm better able to handle them because, one, my mindset going into it is a lot different. When I have an anxiety attack nowadays, I'm better able to sit with it. Now, I know how hard it may be because it's very scary to experience physical symptoms of anxiety because they're just so intense, but as of recently, I have had a few anxiety symptoms, and I thought to myself, okay, so let's apply what I've learned over the years. So I know that when you feel anxiety or when you have intrusive thoughts, they come and go. They're not forever, So if I have an intrusive thought that scares me, that gets me anxious, I just think of it like it's a cloud that's passing by, just going through my head, saying hello, and then going out. And that's how I think about my intrusive thoughts. I try my best to just be able to sit with it, acknowledge that it's there, but know that it's going to go away. And same thing with the physical symptoms that I feel. To this day, when I have anxiety, I still get that tingly feeling. I get a bit of a heart race. I have kind of a hard time breathing, but it's not as bad as before. And when I feel these symptoms, I try to calm down. I do what I need to do. Now, it might take a while, but I know that they're going to go away. And I feel like I've been able to really overcome my symptoms by doing that. And that was just as of recently, honestly. As of recently, I was able to really handle my symptoms and my triggers very well by being able to think of them in that perspective. So when you feel like you're able to do that, I suggest that you try those ways. It might not work for everybody, but it did work for me. So hopefully you can adapt that mentality about your symptoms and be able to also handle your symptoms well. So that's pretty much it. Like I said, it was such a challenging journey, but I've grown so much from it. I've learned so much about myself, and I'm very happy and blessed with how far that I've come. like I said, I still have anxiety. It's not as bad as it used to be, but now I'm here, you know, I feel a lot more empowered and able to talk about it and even give you some tips and advice on how to deal with it. So I must have done something, you know, something right to help myself. And I really hope that if you're going through anxiety or any other type of mental illness, that you're able to get to where I am today as well. Now, thank you so much for watching, and I really hope for the best for you. And if you need me, if you need more of my tips, my advice, or if you want to hear more about certain parts of my journey, then please don't feel afraid to ask me. If you want to, leave a comment down below, or you can message me. Also, I am on other social media platforms. If you want to follow me on Facebook or on Instagram, both handles are KayGreetsTheDay. And then I also have my blogging website, which is www.KayGreetsTheDay.com. Other than that, I just wanted to put that out there. If you want to hear more from me, then go ahead and visit those social media platforms. But until then, I hope to see you guys in the next video. Thank you so much for watching. I really appreciate you guys. I love you so much. Take care, Passion Pilots. See you in the next one. Bye! Woo!